A very good morning to all the students. I hope every one of you is in your best health. We were doing chapter number 3, that is atoms and molecules of our chemistry portion, and in this chapter we are reading about atoms and molecules. So far we have read about atoms and today we'll be reading about molecules. So in the continuation with the topic, today we will be studying about how do atoms exist. Now we already know that what is atom and how does it look like, what does it have in it. So atom is the smallest particle of any matter, and in that atom there are different particles or subdivision we can call them, that is proton, neutron and electron. So we have done that portion. Now how do an atom exist? So the atom usually exists in two ways, that is in the form of molecules and in the form of ions. So before I start the topic molecules, which is our today's topic, I would like you to explain few things which you would have read earlier but I think you would have forgotten. So let's start with this. Like we have read about elements. So elements we have done when we read this chapter number 2, okay, in which we have read about colloids, solutions, suspensions. So in that we have learned about pure substances and mixtures. So in this chapter we have read about elements. So elements are the pure substances. So elements are the substances which occur in nature in their original form. Like if we will break an element into a smallest piece, we would get an atom. So an element is just a pure substance, it's not a mixture of anything. So the smallest particle of an element is called as atom. Okay, and elements can be metals, they can be non-metals, they can be noble gases, okay, and they can be metalloids that we have done already. Okay, so these are the elements. So now when this atom, so atom, for example, we will take an element like sodium is a metal. Okay, so I'm writing the symbols here, sodium, and then if we'll take a chlorine, so chlorine is a non-metal, it is a metal and it is a non-metal. Okay, now so if we will take element sodium and element chlorine and we will take an atom of sodium, so this is a symbol and this is an atom. So in an element there can be thousands and lakhs and crores of atoms and more than that. But if we are talking about just an atom of an element, so the smallest particle of an element would be an atom. So this is a sodium atom and this is a chlorine atom. Okay, so now these are the atoms. So now because sodium is an element and we are talking about the atom, so sodium atom has symbol Na and its atomic number is 11. Atomic number. Okay, now don't get confused atomic with the atomic mass. Atomic mass or the mass number is 23. Okay, so again I would like to explain that in sodium there are the configuration is 2, 8 and 1. This I will be teaching in 4th chapter but it's K, L and M. So like I have said it, the structure of atom is like this atom, and in the center is nucleus, and in the nucleus it's proton plus neutron. So since the atomic number of sodium is 11 and I have told you that the atomic number is the number of protons, that means sodium has proton equals to 11. Okay, and this sodium, okay, we are talking about the sodium atom. Okay, and this sodium atom is having electrons 11, so it is having positive charge, and minus negative charge. That means it has equal number of positive and equal number of negative charge. And here in the outside resides the atoms, electrons. Okay, so these are the electrons. So sodium is having 3 shells. So this is the first shell's 2 electrons, second shell 8 electrons, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8, and in the outermost shell it's only 1 electron. Okay, so this is the structure, atomic structure of sodium atom. Now this is having neutron also. So neutron is also in this case, because if you'll add, so neutrons are 12 in the case of sodium. That is why the atomic mass is 23, because it is the sum of the neutron plus sum of the protons. So 12 plus 11 equals to 23. Okay, so they don't have any charge, so they are neutral charge. Okay, so now this is the case of the atom. So now what happens, because sodiums want to attain the nearest gas atomic structure, because every atom, every element wants to become stable. So according to the Bohr's atomic configuration, this is the Bohr's atomic configuration. I haven't taught you yet, but I'll be teaching you in next chapter. But here just an introduction that Bohr gave a model of an atomic, like he said that in every atom the distribution of electron is fixed, and in this there are 4 shells which are called as energy shells. The first shell is called as K, which has a maximum number of electron space is of 2. Then the second shell is called as L, which has a maximum space of filling of the electron is 8, and then the next shell 18 and 32 and so on. So now in the second shell there should be 8 electrons, and in the outermost shell it should be 18 or 8 electrons. 8 electrons also will do. So but here sodium has only 1 electron, so sodium wants 7 electrons. So 7 electrons will not be given by any other element, because no element can give 7 electrons, because this nucleus is having positive charge and electrons are having negative charge. So negative charge will attract the positive charge, and this will not allow the electrons to move out of the shell. Okay, but in the case of this is a lonely electron here, and this is quite away from the nucleus. So the nucleus will try to hold this, but it will escape somehow. So that is why metals donate the electron. So sodium here will give 1 electron. Okay, so -1, and it will become a sodium ion. Why this is positive charge in this? Because if you see, positive charge 11, negative charge 11. So here, because it's an ion, so now this is having proton equals to 11, but electron equals to 10. Why 10? Because it has given 1 electron to some other element. Okay, so electron is 10, since the positive charge is greater and negative charge is smaller, so this will have a positive charge. Okay, so it becomes an ion. So the difference between atom and an ion is atom has equal number of proton and electron, whereas in the case of ion have either a less electron or more electron. If it is a metal, the number of electron will be less, and when the number of electron will be less, the ion will have a positive charge. Okay, and when the ion has a positive charge on them, we call them cation. Okay, so sodium will just give 1 electron, and it will form an sodium ion instead of sodium atom. So atom has the equal number of charges, so it is a neutral neutral substance, because it has positive and negative equal, so it is a neutral substance, whereas the ion is either a positive or a negative substance, and if it is a positive ion we call it as cation. Okay, now next we'll read about chlorine. So chlorine is also an element. So chlorine will take chlorine atom, which is Cl. Okay, so the atomic number of chlorine is 17. That means chlorine have proton equals to 17, and electron also it has 17, because chlorine is an atom, so it has equal number of proton and electron. So this is a positive charge and this is a negative charge. Now this chlorine has 17 electrons, so its configuration is 2, 8, 8 and 7. Okay, so it is having 7 and it wants to attain, oh sorry, it's not like this, it is 287. Okay, so since it wants to attain electronic configuration of the nearest gas, so it will try to have 8 electrons in its outermost shell. So it wants 1 electron, so it will take 1 electron from any other element, so plus 1 here, so it will become chlorine ion. Why it will have a negative sign? Because here the protons are 17 but electron has been added up, so 18. So this is the positive charge and this is a negative charge. Since the negative charge is more than the positive charge, it will have a negative charge on its top, so it's called as anion. The ions which have a negative charge on them is called as anion. Okay, so like by this it becomes an ion. So the basic difference between an atom and an ion is, an atom is a neutral substance. It does not have any charge, neither positive or negative, because it has both the charges but they are equal in number. But in the case of ion, either it will be a negative charge or a positive charge. If it is a positive charge, it will be called as cation, and if it is a negative charge, it will be called as anion. Okay, so these are the, now how do we were reading about the molecules, so how do molecules become? So molecules are nothing just when two or different atoms combine, they form a molecule. So like here, this sodium is giving its electron, 1 electron, and this chlorine is taking 1 electron. So when sodium is giving 1 electron and it's forming sodium ion, and this chlorine is accepting 1 electron plus 1 and it's from chlorine ion. So what happens is that sodium will give the this electron to chlorine. So chlorine will accept and it will form a compound called as NaCl. So NaCl is formed by the combination of two different atoms because they combine. Okay, so how do they combine? They combine like this. This Na will give its electron, okay, 1 electron, and it will form sodium ion. Chlorine will accept electron from chlorine ion. So this is the transfer of electron here. Chlorine has 7, so this will be transferred here. Okay, so sodium will transfer 1 electron and sodium and chlorine will combine. So chlorine will be having how many electrons? It will be having all the 8 electrons. So this will be a compound called as ionic compound. So metals and non-metals combine together by ionic compound when there is transfer of electrons. So this happens and a compound is formed. So now the elements are the substances. It will take a smallest part of the element, we will get atom, and if we will take the smallest part of a compound, we will get molecule. So the basic difference is the atom is the pure substance. Compounds are also pure substances because compounds have a definite formula, but compounds are formed by the mixture of by the addition of 2 or more atoms. So when there is single atom, that is one atom is called as atom, but when there is 2 atoms, we don't call it an atom, we call it a molecule. So when there are 2 atoms, we call them molecules. Okay, so this is a compound, so the smallest portion of this will be a molecule. Okay, now let's get back to the topic. Molecules. A molecule is an electrically neutral group of 2 or more atoms chemically bound together. So when there is an electrically neutral, why we are calling the term electrically neutral? Because when a molecule is formed, it becomes stable. It does not react with any other thing, and this is either formed by covalent bonding. So when the atoms combine together in a molecule, they are called as covalent bonds, and this combination of an atom is called as molecules. Now the atoms of the elements are very reactive. We know that they are very reactive, and that is why they don't exist in the free state. Free state means they don't behave as a single atom, and again the molecule are also very active. So molecule can exist in free state, but because the molecules are stable, they are stable because when they react they fulfill their octet structure, so they become stable, and that is why we can call that a molecule is the smallest particle of a substance or element or a compound which has a property of a substance and can exist in a free state. That means a molecule has all the property of a pure substance, but it can exist in a free state, but atoms cannot exist in a free state. Now next is the molecules of elements. So now molecules of elements, and we will be reading about two things, that is molecules of elements and molecules of compound. Now because we have read about the compound before in this, that this is a compound formation, this is a compound, but we are reading about elements first. Molecules of an element, that means when the same atom will combine twice. Okay, so the molecule of an element contain two or more similar atoms chemically combined together. When two or more similar atoms combine together, they form a molecule of an element. So molecule of an elements are very stable. Now this is the hydrogen. So I have written it's H2, whereas we have read that the symbol of hydrogen is only H, but here I'm writing hydrogen 2, that is hydrogen gas. Okay, so when we write hydrogen atom, we just write H, but when we write hydrogen gas, it is written as H2. Like if we mention oxygen gas, it is written as O2, and N2 gas is N2, or nitrogen gas N2. So why do we write this 2 here always? Reason lies here is that hydrogen gas consists of H2 molecules and not single atom H. So it's not a single atom H. The symbol of hydrogen is H because that is atom, but hydrogen does not exist in a single form. That means it does not exist in a free form because the hydrogen is very reactive gas. So hydrogen has the atomic number 1. So in its configuration, it just have one electron in its outermost shell. So it wants to have 2 electrons in its outermost shell to complete its duplet. So this, to complete this duplet, it wants one more electron. So it combined with the other hydrogen atom, and it just share the electron like this. So here it is sharing the electron, so this is sharing this, and this is this. So this sharing is called as covalent bond. In that we have studied about ionic bond. This is the covalent sharing, so it exists as H2 molecule. It's called as hydrogen molecule, and so on with these. Like this is nitrogen, so nitrogen exists like this, N2, because here also nitrogen will combine with the other nitrogen atom and it will form a bond which is called as N2. So two nitrogen will be they are sharing their electrons and they will be forming a molecule called as N2. Okay, so they will be combining together because it has the number of electrons 5 in the outermost shell, so it will be sharing the electrons. So now again with the oxygen also, O2, again oxygen will combine with the other oxygen atom and it will form a covalent bond. So O2, and then chlorine, again same thing will happen. Ozone is this is not an actually normal element. It is a compound when oxygen combines 3 times, so it is O3 actually. So here oxygen will O plus O plus O, so 3 times oxygen is called as O3. Okay, so it is very rare to be found because when oxygen will combine with the other oxygen atom, it will form oxygen gas. It will have to have a nascent oxygen, a single oxygen, so it's very rare. When there is UV light, only then it will be available. So that single atom of oxygen will combine with the oxygen gas and it will form O3. Okay, then phosphorus is P4. That means P plus P plus P plus P. So 4 atoms of phosphorus combine to form a phosphorus molecule. Okay, so these are the elements, compounds of an element which exist. So why we are saying compounds of molecules of an element? Because here we can see they are the molecules. So the basic difference between an atom and a molecule is that atom is a single particle, and when it's two or more atom combined, they form a molecule. Okay, so this is a molecule of element. After this we come to the atomicity. Now atomicity is a number of atoms which are present in one molecule of an element. That means in any element how many molecules are present. Like this is about the nonmetals. So some of the nonmetals like the noble gases has atomicity 1. 1 means here we can see it is neon, argon, helium, and it's H2. So the atoms which do not have any other number, that means they have atomicity 1. So it is having atomicity 1, it is 1 1. So they are called as monoatomic gases, that they can exist in a single atomic form. But here hydrogen gas, it is diatomic, it's H2 always. So the atomicity of hydrogen is 2, which is di means 2, diatomic. Next is nitrogen. So nitrogen is also a gas which does not exist in a single atom. It exists in form of N2. So atomicity is diatomic and atomicity is 2. Chlorine again diatomic. Phosphorus, it is tetraatomic. And then it's for sulfur. Sulfur is also a non-metal. It exists as S8. So 8 atoms of sulfur combine together to form a molecule of sulfur, and this is a pure element. It's not a compound. Okay, so this molecule of sulfur element exists in a polyatomic form. We can call it polyatomic, or we can also call it as octaatomic. Okay, so this O3, ozone is O3, and this is triatomic. Okay, so after this we come to the metals. So this is sodium, SODIUM, sodium. Okay, so metals always exist in a single atomic form, so they all will have a monoatomic nature, so they will have atomicity 1. So atomicity is a number of atom in one molecule. So when any element of sodium is taken, so it will exist in a single form, although these are, some of them are very reactive elements, so they are not found in the single form. They are always found in a combined state. They are always found in a form of compound, but they can exist in a single form also. So they have atomicity 1, which is monoatomicity. So this is for your today's lecture. So before I end, I would like to discuss the previous work with you people, which we have done already, like questions. So this was a question which was given to you. So here are the atomic masses of the elements. So hydrogen is having 1, carbon is having 12. You don't have to write in points, so you just write in the whole number, but if it has to be in points, it has to be 0.5, that's it. Carbon 12, nitrogen 14, oxygen 16, sodium 23, magnesium 24, chlorine, you have to learn this, 35.5. okay, so chlorine has 2 atomic masses, because chlorine has isotopes that we'll be learning again in the chapter after some time. Calcium 40, sulfur 32, copper 63.5, zinc 65, iodine 126 point something. So it's okay. So these are the atomic masses which you can write also, and you can learn. Okay, so this is the end of the lecture. So you have to do question and answers, and everyone should do that. And if you have any problem, you can ask with me. Okay, till then, take care of yourself and study hard. Thank you.